Today I'm talking about true to self, love to the world. And that may seem like a contradiction. It's not. It's actually one theme. When we are really true to our higher selves, when we acknowledge and know, as Carolyn read a while ago, that in God we live, move, and have our being. When we recognize that highest self and really live and operate from that highest self, to live from that place of spirit. You know, in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 20, that Paul says that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. We are no small stuff. This presence of God lives in us. And this higher self, the Sanskrit scriptures call the Paramatma, this presence of God that lives in us and walks alongside with us. Our friend who is always our well-wisher, always walking with us. The Christian scriptures speak of that as well, talking about the Paraclete, the one who walks alongside with us, the witness, the Holy Spirit. This presence of God, when we align in that, when we go into the depths and really connect with the truth of our being, and when we live from that place, that's what I mean by living from the place of the highest self. And when we are true to our highest self, when we allow ourselves to really listen to our highest self, when we allow ourselves to really act from that place, is when we experience real joy and real contentment and real integrity in our lives. I was reading a quote from Howard Thurman, who said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. And then go and do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Whatever gifts, talents, skills, interests, passions that you have, when you lift those up in the highest self, that is what the world is longing for. In past years, I've planted gardens. And I've planted carrots and corn and peppers and tomatoes and onions and garlic and lettuce and strawberries, and I've planted all kinds of things. I love growing things. And it would be, I could just live on one vegetable. I probably could. I probably could live on one vegetable, but it's nice to have a variety. It's nice to have different sizes, different colors, different ways of tasting, and variety. To me, a garden, it could be flowers or vegetables, are a good image of the fact that God is outpictured as diversity. Think about it. We don't all look alike. Some of us are black, some of us are white, some of us are Latinx, some of us are from the Middle East. We don't all look alike. We don't all come from the same backgrounds. Some of us grew up in very conservative Christian families. Some of us grew up in Buddhism or Hinduism. Some of us grew up agnostic. We come from all different areas. And to me, it is a perfect image of the diverse facets of God. When you look at a diamond before it's cut, it looks like a rock, okay? When it's been cut to allow the light to come through in different facets and different ways, you can see the light expressed in many different directions, in many different ways. Part of what gives a diamond its value is the way it's been cut. Each one of us has been cut in a unique and beautiful way. Each one of us expresses the light that is God in a beautiful way. You don't need to shine the light like someone else does. You don't need to compare yourself to other people. Are you in that habit? It's not a very fun habit to be in. It's a great way to be miserable. To compare yourself constantly with others, either thinking you're not as good of them as them. Oh, I wish I had that talent to do that. Oh, I wish I could do that like that person. Or to think that somehow we're better than others. Oh, if those people only could awaken to the great truth that I have, then they would just straighten up. Either way, we're making ourselves miserable when we compare and judge ourselves according to others. It's better to really be in an integrity with who and what we are and to be the best us that we can be, because that is what the world needs. And that is what we're here to be. You see, the presence of God wanted to express as you, with your unique background. Some of the things in your background you may wish you had never gone through. There are things in my past where I'm like, why did I have to go through that? But when I've gone into times of prayer and meditation, the voice I have heard is, you wouldn't be who you are without those things that happened. So we can give thanks for all of those things that have helped to cut this particular diamond that we are. We can give thanks that we are shining the light in our own unique way, and each one of us in a beautiful way. As we see in this second car of the love train, all of these hearts, each one of us is that love, that presence of God that is needed in the world by being what we really are. So we need to be in integrity with ourselves. Mahatma Gandhi believed that integrity is a unity of what I think, what I say, and what I do, all being the same thing. And that we're not one thing here and then one thing somewhere else. You know? Have you seen that where some people are one person in one environment, they're a whole different person in another environment? Integrity is coming from that place of our true self and being that in the world consistently, showing up as us. It's a drain to try to be someone we're not. Would you agree with that? It really takes a lot of, if you will, psychic power, that is, power from our psyche, to try to pretend to be someone we're not. To try to be someone that we think others want us to be, as if we know what others want us to be, and then we try to be that. What we are called to be, what the world is needing, what we are here in representing God, is to be what we are in our highest sense, in alignment with God, in focus with God, in focus with that divine presence. I think of a scripture where Jesus said, what does it gain a person if they gain the entire world and all its possessions, but lose their own soul? So many of us spend our energy trying to do this and trying to do that rather than aligning with what we really are. And sometimes this brings about in us a sense of holy dissatisfaction. Have you ever had holy dissatisfaction? It sounds like a phrase, doesn't it? Holy dissatisfaction. That's when your inner spirit is waking up and saying, okay, it's time for a change. This doesn't quite fit me anymore. Maybe you're in a job that doesn't quite represent your value system anymore. I know of someone who got their bachelor's and master's degree in chemistry, and then they began to have some ethical issues with the ways in which some of that knowledge was being used. And they realized they did not want to use that knowledge in unethical ways. It did not match who they were. If we are just working to make money, and we're not working in integrity with who we really are, we're being prostitutes. There's nothing wrong with being a prostitute, but a prostitute is someone who sells themselves. If we are spending our energy and our work and our lives for that which is not in alignment with our true selves, we are selling ourselves. We are selling our soul, and we get tired. You know the symptoms. Just wanting to get away from it all, not wanting to deal with it anymore, being exhausted at the end of the day. No, I mean, we get tired with good work, but when we're engaging our true self, our highest self, it is energizing to us. Yes, we need times of rest. Yes, we need times of leisure and recreation and socializing. But what I'm saying is what you are doing with your life draining your soul? When we are true to ourselves, we come to life. I remember working with somebody that they wanted to write a book. They kept talking about wanting to write a book, wanting to write a book, wanting to write a book. And I said, why don't you write a book? Well, how can I? Well, when it became important enough to them, I'm not telling you what to do. You listen to your higher self. But what this person listened to was they quit their job for 2 years so that they could write their book. And I was there with them to support them in that process. What is it that your higher self is calling you to? Now, that story I just told might scare you. Yeah, it's scary to go into the unknown, isn't it? It's scary to be true to our highest self. Now, we can take baby steps, or we can just plunge right in. But why not? Why not listen to what you really are? Why not be true to your highest calling? This is Black History Month, and the previous 2 Sundays we had wonderful black singers, musicians. At the end of this service, we're going to hear the peace song from the Oakland Interfaith Youth Choir, which is a wonderful rendition of the peace song. We're going to play that next Sunday as well, because it really shows the diversity, how we're all in this together. And I'm thinking about black leaders who have influenced the New Thought movement, who've influenced Unity and other New Thought churches and spiritual centers. Last week I talked about Johnny Coleman, who started what is called the Universal Foundation for Better Living, has 22 churches, has a campus that's about 116 acres, reaches thousands of people, has its own seminary, has its own school, because Johnny Coleman believed in being true to her higher self, not trying to fit in with everyone else, not trying to look like everyone else, not trying to act like the white students, not trying to do things the way the white church did it, but doing it in integrity with who she is. And she ran into someone. She was introduced to a minister who was just starting as a minister. This other woman's name is Mary Tumpkin. And Mary Tumpkin was having a little church in her living room. You know, that's a lot of times how churches start. Little study group, getting together, talking, singing. And so she was meeting with some folks in her living room. And there was a motivational speaker that was so, impressed with Mary Tumpkin. He introduced her to Johnny Coleman. And when Johnny Coleman met her, she was really impressed. So she wanted Mary Tumpkin to become a Universal Foundation for Better Living minister and helped with the building of that church. And that church now is massive. It's in Florida. And Mary Tumpkin ended up for 18 years being the president of that movement, the Universal Foundation for Better Living. And these leaders, these teachers have influenced the Unity movement, have influenced the New Thought movement. It was Mary Tumpkin, Reverend Dr. Mary Tumpkin. She got her doctorate of ministry degree. She was the one who built the Johnny Coleman Seminary. So these leaders were determined to be who they really are. Now, we're going to show a clip here of Mary Tumpkin speaking. Now, I have a little bit of hesitation because I'm going to talk a little bit more after we see this clip. And after you see this clip, you're going to go, wow, I mean, she is so high energy. I want to share it with you to show you some of the roots of the New Thought movement of which Unity is a part, to show you some of the different styles in which New Thought and metaphysical teaching show up. It doesn't always show up the way that you've seen it perhaps in churches that are primarily white. I want you to see some of the powerful spirit and hear some of the things that Mary Tumpkin is saying here. This is just a sample. She has many sermons online. You can look at them on YouTube. This is just a sample. It'll be about 4.5 minutes. But for me, it goes by really, really fast because she is so engaging. So, Connect, are you ready to help us with that? And you can tune down these lights up here. All right, thank you.
This is a thinking person's church.
That's right. That's right.
Say, well, you can't get happy off if you can't get happy off the right thing, and you say you're getting happy off a lie, something is wrong with you.
That's right, man.
I ain't supposed to say all that, am I? We look, anybody that's prosperous, we look at them as a cheat. We don't think people can be prosperous and healthy and happy unless they're doing something wrong. It's a mentality that we've got into because we have not been able to figure this thing out. And I am saying to you this morning, the law of compensation helps us to figure this thing out. Now, let me say this. The good life is not for when you die. I can't preach to you about the afterlife. I can preach to you about this life. And God intended for you to be happy in this life. And I suggest to you that you get it in this life. I suggest that you decide to be happy now and not put it off. I just suggest that you decide to be healthy and whole now and not put it off. I suggest that you decide to have some money now. I suggest to you, I don't know about your God, but my God finds pleasure in me being happy. And my God finds pleasure. You know, folks always wrestling with God. I teach preachers and they come in and they say, God put the call on my life, but I didn't want to accept it and I wrestled with it. Well, just stay out of it. Don't answer the call. Who wants you when you tired and ragged and stupid? You ought to be happy to say yes to God. Stupid. He dragged me into the ministry. As soon as they come before me, I strike them out. If they drag you, we're going to keep having to drag you while you in the ministry. This ain't no dragging game. It ain't supposed to be no struggle. It ain't supposed to be no strife. We supposed to live in happiness. We supposed to be able to have joy.
That's right.
Hello? It is no sin in having joy. Ain't no sin in having some money. Yeah, I'm going to talk about money. Money. I won't upset you. Money. Serving God in his poor as a church mouse. I'll get mine by and by. No, with your consciousness, you get up to heaven, you ain't gonna find it there either. I'm talking. You got a mindset that you have been cheated and justice has not been done to you. Listen to people. It's not fair. When they come, this is not fair. This is not fair. This is not fair. They think they have been cheated. They think that something has been kept from them. Newsflash. No. Your own has come to you. Let's talk about equality. You better understand this. Let's talk about equality.
That's just a sample. I encourage you to look her up online. She did make her transition some time back. But Mary Tumpkin is one of those who has influenced our movement, has influenced New Thought. And as you can see, each person has their own unique way of presenting. Each one of us has our own unique way of being the light. I picked this particular clip because in our Absolute Abundance class each week, we're talking about prosperity. We're talking about deserving it. I know I shocked some people this last Tuesday night. And we don't discuss what other people share from that class, but in our class this last Tuesday night, Reverend Deanne Ware-Morency pulled out a $100 bill and flipped it around and was looking at it and said, who deserves this $100? I immediately jumped on that, and I'm in the camera, and I'm like, I do. So she mailed that to me. Are you willing to claim you're good? Are you willing to claim what you really are in integrity? Are you willing to stand boldly in what you are, knowing that in God you live, move, and have your being, that you are not here to be any small stuff. You are here to be the presence of God in action. Are you willing to step into that boldly and with joy? Mary talked about people who were struggling, and I've talked with those too, who tell me that they're called the ministry, but they're wrestling with it. And I tell them, hey, if you can do anything else, do it. Don't wrestle. If you can do anything else, do it. Because when you get to the point, like I did, where it was clear that there's no other way to really be true to my highest self, then I said yes. Be willing to say yes, even though it may take you out of the norm. Be willing to say yes, even though it may mean a change of jobs. Be willing to say yes to your higher self, because that is where you find the real joy. That's where you find the real nectar of life. Listening to that presence of Spirit and following that presence. I invite you to affirm after me. I am happy. I am joyful. I am prosperous. Because I walk in alignment with God. I am true to my highest self. And there's no turning back. You know, I think of that quote from Shakespeare in Hamlet, where he says, to thine own self be true. Be true to your highest self. And then you can bring real love to the world. And when people see you rising up in what you are, when they see you standing up for what you are, they'll say, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I stand up in what I really want to do? Why can't I take those bold steps to do what I really want to do? When you are your truest self, you encourage others to be so also.